The rancher had lived his entire life believing that nothing truly surprised him anymore. Not the cruelty of drought, not the silence of broken land, not even the way people could vanish without a trace. But when the woman appeared at the edge of his property just before dusk, barefoot and trembling, carrying a burlap sack that dragged along the dirt behind her, he felt a cold, unfamiliar unease crawl up his spine. She looked exhausted, her face streaked with dust and fear. And when she finally spoke, her voice cracked as she whispered, "Please, take them off." And he assumed she meant her shackled past, her grief, her pain, until she dropped the sack at his feet and begged him again, eyes locked onto the ground as though whatever lay inside was too heavy to face. Reluctantly, cautiously, he untied the knot, the smell of earth and iron rising first, and then he saw them, objects wrapped in stained cloth, each marked with a crude symbol burned deep into the fabric, and his breath caught. Because he recognized those symbols from old-town rumors, whispered stories about missing workers, disappearances no one dared investigate, and a secret that the land itself seemed determined to bury. As the wind swept across the ranch, the woman collapsed to her knees, sobbing, and the rancher realized this wasn't a request for help. It was a confession, and whatever he had just uncovered would drag him into a truth far darker than he ever imagined. If you feel that tension building already, this is the moment to subscribe, because this story is only just beginning. The woman finally spoke as the rancher wrapped the sack shut again, her words tumbling out in broken fragments about a place beyond the hills where people were stripped not of clothes, but of names, dignity, and freedom, forced to surrender pieces of themselves as proof of loyalty, and the rancher listened in disbelief as he recognized patterns, old missing person cases, sudden land transfers, families that fled overnight without explanation. She told him she had been ordered to deliver the sack as a warning, that each item inside belonged to someone who had tried to leave, and when he asked why she came to him, her answer chilled him more than the contents of the sack ever could. "Because you're next." Night fell heavy and silent as the rancher barricaded his house, realizing the land he loved had been feeding on secrets for decades, and that the people who controlled it didn't care who suffered as long as their power remained untouched. The woman revealed scars on her wrists, not from chains, but from something worse, obedience. And as coyotes howled in the distance, the rancher faced an impossible choice between staying silent like everyone before him or risking everything to expose a truth that could get them both killed. If you're still watching, subscribe now, because the danger is about to close in. By morning, the rancher discovered his phone lines were dead, his gates mysteriously locked from the outside, and unfamiliar trucks parked along the far ridge, watching, waiting, and the woman confessed the final truth that the sack was never meant to reach him alive, that her escape was a mistake, and that those who controlled the operation would come to erase both evidence and witnesses. Together they opened the sack once more, documenting every item, every symbol, every silent scream wrapped inside, turning fear into resolve, and as the sun rose higher, they buried the sack beneath the oldest oak on the ranch, not to hide it, but to mark it, etching coordinates, recording testimonies, and sending what little data they could through a satellite radio the rancher had kept for emergencies. When the trucks finally rolled in, dust clouds announcing their arrival, the rancher stood his ground, not with weapons but with truth. And for the first time in decades, the land witnessed defiance instead of obedience. If this turning point has you hooked, subscribe, because the reckoning is coming. The aftermath shook the region as authorities uncovered a network that had operated in plain sight for years, exploiting fear and silence, and the rancher became an unwilling symbol of resistance while the woman, finally free, stood before cameras, no longer asking anyone to take anything off, but demanding that the truth be laid bare, though the land would never forget what had been buried beneath it. Justice began to take root where secrecy once thrived, and as the rancher returned to his quiet routines, he understood that courage didn't come from strength, but from refusing to look away. The final shot of this story lingers on the oak tree at sunset, standing as a reminder that even the heaviest secrets can be unearthed when someone chooses to listen. And if stories like this matter to you, stories about truth, Courage and Consequences. Subscribe to the channel because many more unforgettable stories are coming next long after the headlines faded and the investigators packed up their tents. The rancher learned that endings were a lie. People told themselves to sleep at night because some nights when the wind bent the grass just right, he could still hear footsteps where no one stood and see headlights cresting the ridge that vanished the moment he reached for the door. The woman had left town under protection, but she sent letters, never signed, never postmarked, warning him that not everyone involved had been found. That power didn't disappear. It only learned to hide better. And one evening, as he walked to the oak tree where everything began, he noticed fresh soil disturbed at its base. Careful but deliberate and buried, there was a new sack, smaller than the last, cleaner, marked with a single symbol he had never seen before. Inside was not proof, not evidence, not relics of past victims, but a message carved into wood and stained dark with something he didn't want to identify. "You should have taken them off when she asked." The rancher understood then that survival wasn't victory, silence wasn't safety, and truth, once uncovered, made you a target forever. Yet as fear tightened in his chest, something stronger rose beside it, because the land had chosen him once, and it would choose him again. And he knew what he had to do next. Keep watching. Keep recording. Keep refusing to look away, no matter how heavy the sack became. And if this final revelation sent a chill down your spine, if you believe stories like this deserve to be told no matter how uncomfortable they are, subscribe to the channel now, because this story may be over, but the truth never.